the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rational Investors morning, daily video. Might be afternoon where you are in the world. This is a funny holiday shortened session. In fact, I think probably the U.S. market's going to start winding up here pretty soon. So not a heck of a lot new to talk about. We did have some economic news that came out first thing this morning. Where's the best place to show you? I guess we can pop on over to my spreadsheet. Well, here, let's pull up the actual news source. I like to go on our library. We have a pretty good library. It has lots of different sources. News and Econs have a whole bunch of different sites to consider. Actually, I've seen a lot of people are really excited about this site lately. Anyway, there you can see Econs that came out this morning of note. Canadian retail sales actually came in much stronger than expected. Can't see how the Bank of Canada can lower interest rates in the face of that. And actually, interestingly enough, if we do have an increase in short-term interest rates, that should bode well for the loonie. And it should absolutely kill the housing market, of course, because all these people have bought these variable rate mortgages. And I had been talking recently about sort of like two different scenarios that ought to play out. Either A, for those Canadians in the audience. But it's actually also probably a good lesson in economics anyway. You can see I was looking at crypto earlier this morning. But we should see either, come on you. We should see either two things happen here for Canada. Either A, the interest rates, the economy stays relatively strong, interest rates have to increase. The worry of inflation, all that, caused the Bank of Canada to move, which should absolutely kill the housing market. Because, like I said, a lot of Canadians are they took advantage of the low rates there through 2000, 2001, but in a sad sort of way. And I was even pricing it. Fjord over there in Europe, he was able to lock in like a 20, 30-year mortgage at 3% or something like that. But here in Canada, couldn't do it. I wanted to go and buy a house for Liam, a nice cheap mortgage, lock in nice long-term interest rate. And if you wanted a 20-year paper here in Canada, it was going to cost you 8-9%. So it just goes to show how corrupt this Canadian oligarch Rothschild's banking system is. So all of the people that thought that they were getting great deals there when the interest rates are really low, like 80-90% of them in Canada actually got variable rate adjustable mortgages, and the longest duration that these banks shill is like 5 years. So if you think that all that crap happened around 2000 and the poop's going to hit the fan when all those people go to refinance, that's like 2025, 2026. And my thesis all along has been the US greed cycle peak was in 2000. And then they had a whole bunch of bullshit nonsense that caused the George Bush Jr. and all the corruption around that, caused the housing market to go absolutely crazy there into 2007. And that was a trap, and the whole fucking thing collapsed. And I have a funny feeling that's exactly the same scenario, because I remember back in the early 80s, 1980, 1981, which is sort of the fear cycle peak, or the commodity nations peak, Russia, China, Australia, South Africa. And then in 1986, there was an absolute collapse in the oil market. And of course, the Canadian economy went into the tank literally for the next 10 years. And it got pretty bad. In fact, in the early to mid 90s, there was even a referendum in this country should they break the country up and Quebec go its separate ways. And I fully expect that to happen again through this cycle. So this scenario here either breaks one of two ways. Either the Canadian economy isn't nearly as strong as what they think it is. And of course, these raise in interest rates kill the Canadian economy and it collapses. The data coming out, and keep in mind, this toilet water guy has brought in like millions of immigrants here, and they're all like just basically living on credit right now. But the data itself, the Canadian economic data is still pretty darn strong. And the retail sales number here is a clear indication that I don't think the Fed in Canada, the Bank of Canada, Rothschilds, just call them that, can lower interest rates in the face of this very, very strong retail sales number. That's like 6-7% annualized rate, right? Remember, Druckenmiller down the state got all angry at Powell because he let their retail sales get out of control. So interest rates stay relatively firm. Canadian dollar does actually okay, and that's what I've been sort of conjecturing about recently. Is does this Canadian dollar? There's the bot short level, and this is a massive long-term pattern. Does the Canadian dollar actually tip over here and start to go into free fall? But you can see this economic data coming out of the Canada, so it's suggesting that the Bank of Canada probably can keep rates up, especially in sort of competition with the United States, can justify that and maybe even raise rates. And so the Canadian dollar is catching a bit of a bid. But that should not make all these people that are in these, there's a specific term for all these people that are sort of caught in the housing market. I guess like they're house rich, cash poor. There's also another term for all these people that locked in basically at these really low mortgage rates. But when they come due here in the next few years in Canada, oh boy, are those people in for trouble. So anyway, interesting anecdote about the Canadian economy coming out of the data this morning. And I would actually say that if you are bullish of Canada, I think actually the restructuring that's going on through here is probably going to ensure that the baby boomers can have all their retirement funds and stuff like that paid for with all these new immigrants coming into the country. But at the same time, too, there is a looming housing disaster in this country. I've been barking about it now for a while, but I wouldn't be surprised if it actually takes through the end of this coming cycle. We're all, of course, in crypto, getting ready for the new bull wave, etc. But definitely think there is something looming on the horizon with regard to these Canadian housing industry. Anyway, cross that bridge when we come to it. That was an interesting econ that I saw this morning. Canadian retail sales still very, very strong. Out of the States, we had a minor econ here today. And of course, all these news headlines are all dominated by the U.S. data. So U.S. private sector activity expands marginally. I suppose that's probably the headline that summarizes this nicely. S&P Composite PMI, says the Purchasing Managers Index, you can see came in just slightly better than forecast. Not like, oh my God, knocked the cover off the ball. Also, too, I think this is an interesting anecdote of our society, too, in the West. Following the dot-com boom, George Bush Jr. comes in, sees, of course, that the demographic situation is an absolute nightmare. So the very first thing they do is fire all the union staffers, send everything manufacturing overseas so they don't get killed by the restructuring of the U.S. economy. Then they've basically had their way with China, sucked everything they possibly could get out of it, made China actually go into a bubble, an absolutely ridiculous, stupid economic situation there. Then all it takes is one sickness and a totalitarian dictatorship to F everything up. I think that has more to do with Jupiter, Saturn cross, and all that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, manufacturing coming back to North America, but is it actually coming back to the United States? I don't know. I mean, this is the global manufacturing PMI, and theoretically, a reading below 50 actually implies contraction. So the market was kind of hoping, all right, well, maybe we just hit the 50 line where, we're still expanding, but it's actually contracting. And interestingly enough, the services sector, which is probably what's going to be the driver of our society for, I would even say, the next probably 5, 10 years, just with all these baby boomers all in retirement, and they all need their manis and petties, and they all need their blue hair dues and etc. And the point being, old folks' homes and all that kind of stuff, that's all services. And notice that the services sector is actually ticking up. So I think the retirement sector is going to be dominating a lot. And whatever manufacturing is coming back, you listen to Billy Gates, right? And he's like, well, send it all to Mexico. And Mexico is now going to become the new China. So actually, and I did notice some Mexican data. Yeah, you can even see it here. Mexico did come out with some data here this morning, and you can see a growth rate quarter over quarter coming in much better than expected. Mexico still looks like it's on the grow here. So it's a fascinating situation. I would definitely say, relatively speaking, if you're going to have your money in North America, Asia, or Europe, or I guess the Americas, Asia and Europe, I definitely think that the capital is still on balance flowing into North America here now. I'm not going to say that these are train wreck data. I would say that a little concerning on the inflation front, that the Canadian economy is still a little too hot. Yeah, kind of meh. I mean, the interesting thing with this data set out of the States is, of course, Mr. Powell would like to try and put the inflation genie back in the box. And the only way that he can do it is to really punish the consumer. And the consumer right now is being punished down in the United States, that's for sure. It'd be interesting to see how long the Canadian, all this new immigration money and credit actually lasts. Because I constantly, travel around the lower mainland here, and I'm still trying to figure out what it is that actually drives this economy here. Because for the longest time, Canada was just purely a commodity nation. And I don't see any change. I'm not quite sure what I see is Canada's turned into some massive national real estate speculation. But hey, you saw what happened down in the United States when the whole economy went into real estate orgy in 2007, 2008. And really, the same thing should happen here in this country. It's just a question of when, not really if. And they always say markets can remain illogical far longer than any of us can remain solvent. So there's your econs. And of course, it's a holiday week. In fact, probably the US market here is probably closing relatively soon. So I'm not really expecting huge moves out of anything. Yes, to be honest, I was a little surprised, watching the markets here this morning. Russell 2000 small cap market, very happy, catching a really nice bid. Yeah, large caps, I mean, the Dow is up a bit and making higher highs and higher lows. But interestingly enough, NASDAQ actually kind of swooning here. I was a little bit surprised by that. And also a bit surprised about this sort of NASDAQ underperformance. And I think actually we can see it on our grid here. Yeah, here we are. I suppose these US markets have just gone booming higher here, so maybe they could use a bit of a break. NASDAQ did go out and take out those recent highs, so they swept that liquidity pool. Could we use a little bit of a break here? I mean, any student of mine, of course, don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. So you're not really allowed to buy that kind of market. And you can see all the gaps in here. If anything, this looks a little dangerous. Also too, we are sort of, this is this cyber, Black Friday, Cyber Tuesday, Monday, or whatever the hell it is. And usually, first week of December, somewhere in here, there's a bit of a sort of turkey hangover, as we're sort of like finished all that Thanksgiving stuff. And then the market has to sort of settle down and get ready for Christmas. And it's weird. It's like you can even see that the retailers, and I was even reading this morning that retailers just not getting a bid like they used to. In fact, it might even be interesting just to I'd be curious just to take a look at a couple of like Walmart to see how, because obviously, yeah, wow, that's not a good sign. Something's not going right there. So there's a bit of a problem there. Home Depot, of course, was a popular retailer for sort of home improvement. I guess that's not so bad. Catching a bit of a bid. Is it just doing nothing more than just rallying right back into a shorting window, though? Maybe. Target, that's probably another one that's probably a pretty good proxy on retail. Well, that's not bad. I think he has come down quite a ways. So I guess it was only Walmart that's really fallen apart here. I guess that's a bit surprising. That must have shown some pretty good year-over-year comparisons or quarter-over-quarter. Anyway, so I guess the point that I would just make here is this does look like it's due for a little bit of a pullback here and maybe just calm down a bit. I suppose like big sort of cyber retailers kind of stuff. Always an idea to keep an eye on things like Amazon. Where is our Amazon on here? There you are, Amazon. Looking, I mean, NASDAQ basically looking the same. So it'll be interesting to see how many sales actually get punched through here, whether the whole US economy has completely shifted over to tech. Main Street's been put out of business. One thing I did notice, and I was seeing articles about this, you notice that the Chinese they're just like a shadow of their former selves. So this is Alibaba, has not enjoyed that kind of rally at all that you've seen out of the big US tech names. And I get the feeling China's yesterday's story. It's not even considerable now in this kind of in this market, which is fascinating. And interestingly enough, on those kind of heels, who is doing well? Geez, Japan sure is doing well through all this. There's Toyota Motor Company, I was super bullish on. Actually, even interesting relative to Allen. Allen, since the weekly key reversal there, has actually basically done just about nothing. Toyota, I was bullish of this thing back off this double bottom here. You can see he's enjoying a pretty nice move. And if it's one thing that I see a lot of is a lot of Toyota advertising. They are just going absolutely over the top with US advertising. And that's usually a sign that they're getting ready to rock and roll and they're going to start seeing a lot of sales. What I see here is huge dead cat bounces off the lows, just massive. It is interesting. NVIDIA as sort of our market darling. We did have earnings just come out here recently, and they just no traction following that actual fundamental event. And I actually was hearing a lot of people saying that, even with these stellar numbers, everything's baked into the stock. The stock is just really, really expensive right now. So is that the catalyst that we use? Remember, we saw that on the NASDAQ chart and stuff, how it's just all riddled with gaps. I mean, we could very easily come right back down, fill all this in a heartbeat here. So just understand that we're probably due for a little bit of a pullback in the broader stock market. And as I had sort of said there earlier, tech was sort of leading the charge, I guess, here, coming out of that September swoon, or September, I guess October, end of October, beginning of November, the buy when it snows catalyst. I gotta say, I mean, the algo on TRI is kind of schizophrenic right now because if you subscribe to the algo when it comes to the stock market, you think that the thing is just absolutely unstoppable. And actually, on our sort of silver basic site subscription, all the all the students and stuff get it with their membership and the basic silver site membership. Yeah, just the most beautiful buy signal come out of the end of October, beginning of November, that Halloween and that eclipse pivot. And the thing has just been unstoppable, just straight up here. Uh, if you look at the algo from crypto perspective, and I have a feeling, what time is that here? Yeah, so we'll just head on over to crypto now, finish off this free broadcast with a rant about crypto. I get the distinct impression somebody is really trying to wash out the weak hands. Notice like this stock market, it's one directional. It's not, insanely up and down. It's certainly not. I mean, just to give you perspective, just even on a daily basis, like what kind of move is that? Oh, this is a daily price chart. This is the S&P 500. That's a 1.28% dump. Which is pretty normal for stocks. I suppose this day that was a pretty big move up there. 1.8%. So when algos get signals like that and you have that relatively low volatility, they're just unstoppable. And this was one hell of a signal coming out of that eclipse window. Cole warned us that the eclipse was going to produce some pretty wild action, and wow, what a buy signal that was. I mean, it's like epic. You could literally build hedge funds off of those kind of signals. Then we go over to crypto, and the algo is just having the hardest time right now. Why? Because and we all know exactly who this is. I mean, I don't need to tell all of you. It's just, if anything, I have a feeling that they want to try and set up their monopoly. So the absolute number one thing you do is you inject a massive amount of volatility to wash everybody out of the market. So look at this insanity. What the hell is going on here? We're up 8.5%. Then we're down 8%. Then we're up 8.5%. Then we're down 6%. No, gee whiz, now actually probably even more than that now. Now we're up. Oh, look at that. 7.75%. And the algo is just going, all right, I'm a bull. No, okay, fine. I'm a bear. All right, I'm a bull. All right, I'm a bear. Well, I'm a bull. The algo's back on the bull side. And this volatility is just tearing us apart. It's just really, it's a shame, really. But you don't see this in markets every day. Somebody clearly has an agenda here, and they're trying to wash out as many of the weak hands as possible. And it's a pain in the ass, but if you are an algo trader, live by the sword, die by the sword. I mean, we had algo signals to say go long down in here, and when you had that one directional move, woohoo! Now that we chop, and you got a whole bunch of signals, and you got to book some losses in you there. A lot of people are like, "Oh, this sucks, man." Well, get used to it. That's trading an algo for you. It's just the way it goes. Now, what I have found, and if you want to incorporate algo signals into trade setups, i.e., I'll take the algo signal if I see a W and I'll use the W to frame risk. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a million different ways to skin this cat. What we have to do is figure out what way works for you. And if you can't handle the fact that you might have to, the computer go long, go short, go long, go short, go long, go short, as we chop around here, and somebody just fucked with the market, 8% swings here on a daily basis, well, maybe algo trading isn't your thing. One thing I will say about this chart is this, to me, reminds me of an old adage that we used to say in the futures trading pits, where usually what happens in the market is you get like a violent initial move, boom. And then if you can get a situation where you're actually making higher highs and higher lows, this is actually nothing more than a consolidation pattern. And we used to call this the long, slow grind of death, because it will just literally drive you crazy here as it just grinds and grinds and grinds and just slowly makes higher highs and higher lows. And then usually, and I mean, there's no guarantees in this business, but usually this thing can't finish its move without some sort of horrendous blow off top, right? And the blow off top is what gets all the people in the public excited. They all come by the top of the market. Hey, Bitcoin's going to the moon. Did you see it's up $10,000? You better get in there and buy now. Or you're gonna miss the blah 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 blah. Right? And then if we go to something like a 30-minute chart, I think you can actually see this happening as we speak. And it looks something like this. So call me crazy, but I think that's what we've got in store. And the interesting thing about this, of course, is, Brian and his crazy chaos theory and Foggenbaums and stuff. You notice we bumped up to, and I'm not quite sure which one we want to use here. I suppose you can do Confluence. But bumped up, interesting how we bumped up into this 4669, battle, 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 battle. And I had told you, if I started seeing M's come in here, I was going to start getting uber bearish. And yet, boom, we just put in, you could argue this is a W here, and that's a new high. We broke through that previous high. Does that mean our next stop is all the way up here? Holy Shiite Muslim. So, I mean, I don't think you want to get into the business of predicting. I will simply say, though, that, when chaos levels are resolved, usually we go straight up into the next level. If we did get some sort of blow off top into that level, that would actually, I think more importantly, off of the higher time frames, is this weekly chart. And we've been talking about this recently. The original Empire top that started the slide last fall, which was sort of the official FTX debacle nonsense. And then, of course, Doofus blew himself up right here. This, I think, is the original top. Because really, once we clear through like these levels, then you have to do the look left kind of thinking. And look left, I mean, we had a minor pivot peak here, and you notice, well, it looks like the market respected that when zooming right into that level, then consolidated, then broke out, so then we're back to look left. So where's the next cycle peak? Well, it looks like it's that. Then notice this is a nice shooting star. This is a candle wick. This is, there's a whole bunch of trap bulls in there that would love to get released. And notice this is the 50% level. So WD Gann, in fact, actually the gentleman that we're having on in the after party this afternoon. Oh, he's on the call already. He's our level 2 instructor, and he's, I think he secretly has a love affair with Mr. Gann. I'm not positive. Is that correct, Murat?
I thought you will not tell that, everybody, but yes. Now I can out myself.
Murat's awesome.
Busted.
I love Murat. I love listening. I mean, just he's got that smooth Turkish fucking he could like a lady's dress could easily slip right off her shoulders. Just talking to Mr. Suave here. He's just so smooth. Anyway, yeah, he's a fan of WD Gann. We'll say that to the least. Anyway, he's going to be our speaker. He's our level 2 instructor. How long have we been working together, Murat? Probably the better part of 10 years now, eh?
Well, yeah, 2000. It was around about 2016, 17.
16. So that would be 7 years or so, eh?
7, yeah, something like that, yeah.
Anyway, my favorite memory is I'm a big fat lazy fat ass, and we were biking up this very, very long bridge in Vancouver, Burrard Street Bridge. Any locals? And Murat literally pushed me up the entire hill while riding his bike, no hands. He's so strong. Anyway, that's my memory of Murat. Strong like bull.
Yeah, my muscles are still soaring. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, sure. All right. Anyway, back to our story. And if you'd like to learn more about Murat, come on the after party. He does great presentations on Friday, showing us what he's seeing in the market. Okay, so just finish off this thought. As I said there a moment ago, pretty darn important technical level. Good old WD Gans 50% rule. The original Empire top, this wick here with a whole bunch of trap bulls in there that would love to get released. And then if we do actually fog and bombs, remember I did the fog and bombs off this small consolidation range. They were pointing up into this 40,000 area. If we do a fog and bomb off of this entire consolidation pattern, notice there's 2.618 floating up there right at that 50% level. Do you think that's an accident? I don't. So higher highs and higher lows define a bull market. As I've been saying repeatedly over the past few weeks, we could go either way here, but and because of that, I'm always chicken shit. I'm always worried about risk. I'm always worried about Murphy's Law. As soon as I go and buy this, I guarantee you the market goes down. As long as I say, well, I can't buy this because it's, there's a statistical probability this market's going to puke out. As long as I keep saying that, and if anything, you guys want to hear that, because as long as I keep saying that, then the market's going to keep working its way higher. The day that I give in and say, oh, okay, fine, it must be a bull, I'll go and buy, bang! Next day, the market's going to tank. So you don't want to hear Brian get bullish. But the point I would just simply say here, the algo, interestingly enough, I mean, if you are an algo trader, you got to live by the sword, you got to die by the sword. Algo's actually back on the bull side. So, just is what it is. And, we're painting higher highs and higher lows here. So I certainly can't justify shorts here. As long as this thing keeps doubling. The only problem is I can't really build a bullish bot scenario because you can see this high that was made here. For me to start botting out, I have to have a key pivot low, which is probably going to be this low now, and that be 33 to 66. But you can see there's 38.2. We're nowhere near there, and we won't be now for a while. So I'm just sitting on the sidelines. The algos at TRI are back on the long side, and it is what it is. And if you are an algo trader, great, live by the sword. Woo! Look at all the fucking money. Chop Vegas. This is a pain in the ass. It's driving me crazy. Yeah, let's die by the sword. It's just the way it goes. And then I find this like incredibly ironic that, in the face of this, and I think it is 100% because somebody is really moving this market around here. Like I said, I really think that there's an agenda to try and wash as many weak hands out of the market as possible, especially before we get to that ETF, right? Because they want everybody on the day that they announce the ETF to basically go in and FOMO buy the top, right? And it's just going to be a big circle jerk. Gotta buy. So, an actually interesting sort of dovetail to that, I have been saying all along, there's no way that the 1% are going to, do all of this ETF and Bitcoin bull market with a whole bunch of sort of marginal players all getting rich off of this. And one by one, because keep in mind, these capitalists all own the politicians, which means they own the SEC. The SEC is nothing more than just a tool for these bastards. And one by one, they are basically wiping out all of the old players in this space. Just getting ready for that. When they take crypto and they take Bitcoin and the ETFs and all that to Wall Street and to 401ks and Fidelities and and the hundreds of billions, maybe trillions of dollars pour into this space, there's no fucking way they're going to let guys like this guy eat their lunch. It's just not going to happen. So interesting coincidence that this is all happening now. I'd be a little bit concerned, I just understand I'm the type of guy I can't chase. So no matter how much you like the Bitcoin story, no matter how much of a bull you are, I can't come in and endorse buying a market that looks like this. I'm just not allowed to. Sucks, but just it is what it is. You heard me all last November, December, especially with things like Litecoin and stuff barking, get your shit together, have your plan ready, have your money ready, have your reasons to justify acting. I mean, you all know how much I love 78.6s. You all know how much I love big weekly bullish divergences. You all know how much I love weekly double bottoms. So it should be pretty obvious where, if somebody just asked me about Brian, where should I be long? It was about a year ago, not here. And if anything, this kind of scares me a little bit because Bitcoin does like to move in 1 year coast to coast fashion. In fact, I was on the Wednesday show with Joe. I was saying the same. We were talking about this, how the peak in Bitcoin to the trough was almost exactly 1 year. And here we are from the trough to the peak. Is this just about exactly 1 year? And of course, that totally speaks to WD Gann and Marat. And I'm sure he might have something to say about that in the after party here shortly. Okay, Brian, winding things up. I've said this repeatedly, and I still think that this is absolutely the case. As long as, question is, where the hell do I have it? Here it is. As long as, I mean, look at this damn board. It's all green again. As long as the altcoins look like this, there's no way Bitcoin's going to crash. I mean, it's just not going to happen. If anything, these things need to crash first. People need to go, oh my God, it's all a scam, blah, 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 blah. And then Bitcoin will roll over and we go into a sort of a 6-month hiatus. If anything, if I see charts that look like this, there's no way there's a top in Bitcoin. It just can't happen. So, it is interesting to see, at TRI, of course, we've got, this is our little old lady portfolio. We've got about 30 or 40 of these little things I've been accumulating over the past year. I've banged out a few doubles. I still want to buy a lot more. All of these names that you see in green and orange here, I want to buy. I got to get myself in here. And I hope to God they don't run away from me. This was one of my favorite ones from the previous cycle. You can clearly see where the W's are. And I have a feeling this guy's running away from me. Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was like all ready to go, and I just couldn't get my fucking head around loading up. And I think I let a really, really good buying opportunity slip through my fingers. I have been doing some buying, don't get me wrong. So I am long a bunch of crypto. In fact, actually, just even the account that I'm managing is about 20-30,000 bucks long, all of this stuff. So if things rally, I should be in good shape to participate. I just like to be longer, if that's possible. And then if you actually, Brian's, old stockbroker guy, trading commodities and, build your plan and, trade your setups and, don't take wooden nickels and all that kind of stuff. I'm never going to build myself as a crypto expert. I won't. I think I've got plenty of experience. I could probably out talk like 90% of the public about crypto because I've been here literally every single day for the past 10 years. But at the same time, too, TRI has a crypto expert, and his name is Mr. Panicook. You might know him as Sjord, but his actual real name is Mr. Panicook. And of course, last cycle he was long Luna at like 50 cents, and we did pretty well off of that before the whole damn thing blew up. So got no complaints about that. Could have done better, but what the hell. And he's got a whole list of names that he likes. I'm not sure about OMG. I think he's kind of skeptical of OMG. That's a name from previous cycle. But he does have a bunch of names. And actually, there's a couple names here that he is bullish of on his list on the site that aren't even here. I should add them. But I mean, you see, look at these crazy ass names. I mean, the problem, I can't buy that, and I can't endorse you in the public to come and buy that. But could this just be like a midpoint consolidation, and we really have to head up to here to 877s? Sure. I mean, hell, I just showed you the Bitcoin one. I think that's going to happen there. This route, let me look at that chart. It's just so pretty. I mean, Sjord's the man. Don't get me wrong. So, you want the little old lady approach, you can come on TRI and check out my 30-40 names, little old lady. Don't risk more than 5% of your stake on any one idea. Just nanny nibble away and bang out doubles and triples and stuff as they come along. You want really good quality fundamental research in this space that are names that might just do like the Luna kind of stuff, life-changing events. Come on over to TRI and check out Mr. Panicook's report, because I've been in this space 10 years. I haven't seen anybody analyze crypto as well as him. So we got you covered on both angles. In fact, like I am long a bunch of this C pool. So, we also, a lot of our site members are killer analysts too in this space as well. We have one gentleman who's uber bullish of this name, and I absolutely love this chart. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect. I don't know where the hell this thing's going down the road, but oh boy. So we got you covered if you want good crypto analysis as well. Having said that, it's getting kind of late to be on the buy side here. If I do see W's, great, I'll buy. I am building my shopping list of names that if we do get some sort of pullback, I can sneak in and grab some more. But I'm not going to chase, and there's no way in hell I'm going to recommend all of you guys, even a name like this. I can't recommend you coming in and chasing where you see the bottom down here and we're up here now. So unfortunately, this is sort of its wet blanket time for Brian. As Brian's going to say, a lot of the market has moved up. So I just have to sit on the sidelines. I'm long a whole bunch of stuff. And if you want to keep bidding it higher, great, wonderful. I'll sell into your buy orders. I'm more than happy to do that. But there's probably not a hell of a lot of new stuff that I can go out and buy here today. If we do get a nice healthy pullback there through December, setting up for some sort of trough into tax loss selling season and into the new year, then I will definitely be all over the buy side. So, all right, everybody, that's my report here for you today. Sure hope you got some value out of that. I'm going to go pop over and hang out with Murat for a bit. Slow and steady wins the race. I guess we'll go have some Turkish delight, or is that something else? I don't know. Anyway, have yourselves a great afternoon. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. I suppose we'll talk to everybody on Sunday for broiler chickens. And the only thing left, Brian, say to you is bye for now.